and Joanne.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joanne Ort. I'm a CPA here in Seattle. I work with a lot of small businesses doing tax and accounting work. I'm currently helping many people navigate the whole economic stimulus package and unemployment and everything surrounding that. It's been quite interesting. And I'm here to help. I hope that I can provide information tonight that's valuable to everyone.
Thank you so much, Joanne. So I wanted to just get into a round of questions, especially because we've all been affected, by the pandemic that's currently happening by COVID-19. And, we wanted to get a little chance to see some of the things that we could possibly do to occupy our time or just look forward to. So, Kate, I wanted to kind of ask you, what do you think we should do to, stay active right now, or as active as possible?
I think you should write the world's greatest films. I think that writing scripts is a great thing to do. Helping your friends and other artists figure out how to stream their work right now is a really great thing to do. Storyboarding, anything that gets you ready to come back on strong as soon as the industry comes back. That would be my suggestion.
That sounds amazing. I'm sure that we'll all come out with some really, really great stories as soon as all of this is over. And I wanted to ask you specifically because you're involved with insurance. Is there anything happening right now with insurance companies or with your insurance, that people can look forward to, especially when it comes to being covered by what we're all being affected by right now?
Yeah, so traditionally there are open enrollment periods to enroll for individual coverage. So for those self-employed and don't have coverage through a group employer plan, typically you have November 1st through December 15th to enroll for coverage to begin January 1st. But due to this pandemic, they have the Health Plan Finder, which is our state exchange, has opened up the enrollment window to run through May 8th. So you have until May 8th to secure coverage for May 1st. They may extend it. Nothing's been announced beyond that to date, but that lets you into the enrollment window that is traditionally once a year to start January 1st. You can also enroll on Medicaid or Apple Health if you qualify financially any time of the year, which I can also help with.
And I wanted to actually find out a little bit more information about your insurance company and what area is covered.
About what I sell?
Yes.
So I sell individual and family plans for those who don't have coverage through an employer, and Medicare plan options.
Okay. I wanted to jump to Joanne. Can you talk about your work with small businesses and film production companies?
So
especially since this time of the year.
Right. I mean, I was crazy busy doing taxes when this happened, and I work with a number of production companies, and now we're having a pandemic. The deadline's been pushed out for taxes, which is good for a lot of people. Tax returns are now due July 15th, as are any estimated tax payments. Your April 15th payment and your June 15th payment was just extended. So anybody who makes estimated tax payments, nothing's due until July 15th, which is nice. And then, like I mentioned earlier, there's the CARES Act was passed, and there's just a lot of information around that and some potential help for small businesses. So I've been helping a lot of my clients navigate, trying to figure out what's best. Is it best to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program or to file for unemployment? There's a lot of decisions. I will say one thing that I'm finding out too is that for self-employed people filing for unemployment, it's really important to file your 2019 taxes, because that's what they're going to look at to determine what you're eligible for. I found that one out today. So people want to get, if you're filing for unemployment, and Kate is maybe going to talk about this because I know she knows a lot about about unemployment. And when you're self-employed, you haven't been able to file yet. That's going to open up. What I heard today was it will open up on Sunday. But in order to get the maximum benefit, they're going to look at your 2019 tax return. And if it's not filed, you'll get the minimum federal benefit. This is what will happen until you get that tax return filed.
Okay. Kate, what are your thoughts on what Joanne just talked about, especially, I know you said that you got a chance to talk to the commissioner about an update about the challenges of actually filing for unemployment, especially with what everyone else has been dealing with.
Yeah, I had a chance on Friday to talk with the Unemployment Security Department Commissioner, Susie Levine, and she had a whole lot to say, some of which I think could be really helpful to people. One of her best pieces of advice was really pay attention to the website and file your claim carefully. If you file it carefully and accurately, you should get a check within 5 to 7 days, she said. But if there are errors in your application, it can take weeks for those to be resolved. So she said that they have just been swamped. Of course, they've never seen this many applications for unemployment before in the history of the department. She said they were hiring 500 people newly this week and 1,000 more people next week to help with fielding unemployment claims. And as Joanne mentioned, Sunday is the day that independent contractors, gig economy workers, self-employed people can apply for the pandemic unemployment program that is coming online. It has not been available heretofore. So if you filed as an independent contractor or self-employed and you were denied, you were asked to file again. The system simply was not open for you until Sunday is when it gets open. They're doing a huge technological upgrade on Saturday, and by Sunday they expect to be operational. So a couple of other things that the commissioner said that were really helpful. Well, as Joanne mentioned, the pandemic unemployment insurance applies to people who historically have not been eligible for unemployment. So just because you don't have a standard job does not mean that you shouldn't apply. The rules have been expanded to accommodate independent contractors. Let's see. So a couple of other things she said was, let's see. Stay off the phones if you can. Read the FAQ. File electronically if you possibly can. That is the fastest way to get your check. Every case for an independent contractor is evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So her advice was throw your hat in that ring, because it will be individually assessed as to whether you are eligible, even if you don't fit what seems to be the criteria, like the 680-hour minimum. If you don't meet that minimum of hours worked, you still should put your application in, because they are assessing them individually with a very expanded eye on who is eligible now. Also, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program extends unemployment by an additional 13 weeks. So you can get unemployment for longer than the standard 26-week window. So I think that is most of what I had to share. Their website is super helpful. If you go to it, there's a 9-minute video on there that's worth watching, really helps walk you through. Oh, and one other thing the commissioner said is have your documents ready, right? Have your documents at hand as you go to apply, and you have to set up a SAW account. I can't remember what it stands for right now. Anybody know what the SAW account stands for? It's the thing you have to register.
Your Access Washington.
Thank you very much. That's what it is. Yes. And so do that and have your documents ready, and you should be able to go through the system relatively easily.
Thank you so much for that, Kate. So I wanted to talk to Anne a little bit about so your insurance. How does it benefit people who have lower income?
So the way people with lower income benefit with individual health insurance is, regardless, you enroll through the Health Plan Finder or State Exchange. That's where the window's been open up to enroll. A broker can help you, like myself. You can go directly to the Health Plan Finder call center, or a navigator can help us as well. And you can find any of those on the Washington Health Plan Finder website. You benefit from low income in one of two ways. You can get a tax credit or subsidy if you are under the threshold to qualify. For example, if you're a household of one making under $50,000, you could qualify for a tax credit or subsidy. Household of two is that $67,000 threshold, and that will bring the rate down. You also can qualify being low income if you are under lower thresholds and you qualify for Medicaid, which is Washington Apple Health. Those thresholds are more like $14.50 a month for a household of one, $18.50, a little higher for a tax household of two. So that's how you can get your rates down.
And how soon does that usually take effect?
So Washington Apple Health is retroactive. If you qualify for Washington Apple Health, even if you have a account in the Health Plan Finder now and your income has dropped due to the situation, Washington Apple Health can take you from that qualified health plan and retroactivate you to April 1st, for example. Then you wait for two cards, the provider one card and the carrier you choose to manage the Apple coverage. Apple Health is zero premium typically, with no copays, no cost shares. Very good coverage, phenomenal coverage if you qualify financially. The qualified health plans are a little different. Since they've opened up the window to enroll, you have until May 8th. That's for a future effective date of May 1st. But the carriers won't turn you down. It's guarantee issue.
Thank you so much. Joanne, can you talk a little bit about the CARES stimulus package? I know you mentioned it before, but what exactly does that entail for people who are unaware of it?
Well, the stimulus package that was passed has, I think, three pieces that will be of benefit to people. One is the stimulus rebate check that people should be receiving this week. If you're a single individual and your income is under $75,000, you'll get a rebate check of $1,200. And those started going out yesterday, is my understanding. If you haven't filed your 2019 tax yet, it'll be based on your income on your 2018 tax return. And then on top of that, there's a whole package for businesses through the SBA. There's what's called the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a loan through the bank, which can be forgiven if it's spent on certain things like payroll, utilities, rent, mortgages. And then there's also it's referred to as the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And that is directly through the SBA. There's a grant piece to it, but it's been really, really confusing. You go directly to the SBA and apply for that. And what originally everyone thought was supposed to happen is they would immediately give out these $10,000 grants. Well, that hasn't been happening. Today, I got an email from the SBA that said, no, now what we're going to do is we're going to give you $1,000 for each employee up to $10,000 as kind of immediate assistance. And then you can apply for loans. I think the loans are up to $10 million. But I've been sort of disappointed, and I hope when we're all through this, we can talk to our Congress people about this, because I don't see the businesses that I work with small businesses, nobody's getting helped yet. I've seen money to go to some really big businesses, but it's been a little frustrating. And this was all thrown at the Paycheck Protection Program. You go directly to your bank, and you can get up to 2.5 times your monthly payroll. So, if your monthly payroll, if you've got employees and your monthly payroll is $10,000, you could get $25,000, and then that money can be used for payroll, and it would be forgiven if you use it on payroll. But this was all thrown at the banks too, and the banks are all trying to figure it out. So it's been very confusing. I still have faith that that money will be distributed to small businesses. It's just taking a long time.
So I have been noticing different people who have been talking about how they're getting their stimulus checks and everything, and then some people who aren't getting, you know, their stimulus checks. And I got a notification through my bank that Wednesday is the day that we're supposed to be getting some of our stimulus checks. So I guess I'm trying to figure out how exactly people are getting it. Are they doing it all in one wave, or are they going in alphabetical order? Because it seems like they're starting from the Z's and W's and S and T's before they do the, you know, A's and B's, which puts me out of luck because I'm an E. So do you have any insight, Joanne, on how they're actually figuring out who all to give money to? I know that you have to have, if you're going to get it sooner rather than later, you had to have filed electronically.
Well, you not only had to have filed electronically, but you had to have your bank account information included in that electronic transmittal. So the IRS has to have your bank account. Although you can go on to irs.gov if the IRS does not have your bank account information. I think maybe this went live Sunday. You can go on to irs.gov and put in your bank account information. And if you're getting direct deposit, if they have your bank account information, my guess is you'll get that rebate, that stimulus check pretty quickly, probably within the next 2 weeks. If they don't have your bank account information, I've seen statistics based on the number of checks that will go out, that they'll be sending checks out until September. So,
okay.
so make sure the IRS has your bank account information. That's the,
I mean, that could be scary and not scary at the same time.
You know, they will never go in and take money out of your bank account. I've never seen it unless you authorize it. The IRS won't take money out of your bank account. I know it's like, oh, do I want the IRS to have my bank account? But I've never seen them without permission take money out of anyone's bank account.
I wanted to go back to Kate, especially when it comes to production.
I just lost you and did not hear what you said, unfortunately.
Sorry, I was wondering, what were your thoughts on possible production this year?
Oh, I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that film is one of the industries that comes back online first, because small crews, small casts should be able to work in the first waves of reopening business, as long as there are good standards put into place. A lot remains to be determined about when we all get to go back into business, but I do think that film production, just given the nature of the industry and ability to control distance between people, keep equipment clean, that kind of thing, I think that film will be able to come back readily. And I think there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand because, well, as you all know, the entire industry has come to a halt and everybody's going to want to get going right away. And I'm hoping that that means lots and lots of work for filmmakers.
Do you also believe that, because I know, how we met was with the incentive program. So do you think the process for that would be more open, especially since, we've already gotten into like 1/3 of the year and, haven't been able to really do anything. And I know that the county just got the huge amount authorized. It was 305.
307, yes, for the Creative Economy Initiative. Good memory, Abby.
Thank you.
And $100,000 of that is indeed to incentivize film production. So yes, that remains in reserve and is available and will be spent in the second half of the year.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to have that to very much look forward to, especially because, you know, most of us are just out of work, right? We don't have a way to fuel our you know, creative minds as much as we want to. And I'm wondering, I mean, is it possible if, you know, we do see a you know, a possibility of this going on a little bit longer, would there be a chance to, you know, look at doing small productions from home? If that's even like a virtual possibility, doing virtual productions?
I think all of this is up for discussion because no one really knows how to navigate back out of this, right? And so what we will be doing is bringing industry leaders to the table with us to figure out, okay, so we want you all to be back in business. How do we do that in a way that is safe, that you can operate and still be upholding good public health standards? So we're all in it together, really, and we will figure it out together. But yes, I'm truly hoping that film is one of the first industries to come back online. I think music and some others that involve large groups like concerts and festival production and even sports, they're at the end of the line, right? Because those involve great big groups of people gathering together. Film screenings will be closer to the end of the line, but at least in the theater, you can manage people with a seating arrangement. Like if we had to, it wouldn't be a lot of fun, but if we had to, public health could say the theater is open, but everyone must sit 2 seats apart or something like that, right? But to get back to those big congregate settings, that's a ways down the road. But hopefully film will be right there at the front end of coming back as soon as we start to be able to go back into doing business. I don't know if we ever get back to normal. That's what the public health professionals say, is that true normal is aspirational at this point until a vaccine is found or a solution is found for how COVID-19 stops spreading.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to describe something as normal, you know, especially after something like this. What is considered normalcy? Is it going about, you know, what we did before because that was normalized, you know, like staying at home, staying 6 feet away from people, so on and so forth, especially after the stay at home is lifted, you know, but there is still no vaccine. You know, what do people do when it comes to being normal? Do they still, you know, stay in fear and everything? And I think that's what so many people are worried about. And I did want to ask specifically when it comes to insurance. So if people are not working right now, how would unemployment at least factor into insurance benefits or even getting insurance?
So you can still get insurance if you're getting unemployment based on whether you qualify for Washington Apple Health or that opened up enrollment window through May 8th. Unemployment, the amount of unemployment that you qualify for will determine how much of a subsidy you get, or if you will still qualify for Washington Apple Health, depending on what income level you're in. So like we talked about, that person who's under like $14.50 a month in income, if their unemployment is lower than that, they can still qualify for Apple Health. But if their unemployment is higher than that, say the max of close to $7.91 a week, they're going to still probably qualify for a subsidy or tax credit.
And then when they are, you know, being covered with insurance, how does what would be the case if their premium is too much to pay? Like, you know, what if there's a change in income where they're no longer able to actually afford their premium anymore?
So if there's a person out there who's paying full boat, for example, based on making quite a bit of money, and they lose their job and they drop down to maybe full unemployment, it's always a good idea to call the health plan finder or call your broker or agent to see if a change in income can affect your rate. It's always worth a try. And again, it's based on those thresholds of 400% of the federal poverty level. So it just kind of depends on where you fall and how much subsidy or tax credit is offered.
And just a question for you, because it can be right now, people, it's hard to pay that premium. What are insurance companies doing? Is there any sort of moratorium on, you know, if people miss their premium payment for a month or two, are they still, do they risk losing coverage? Or are the insurance companies kind of taking a step back and saying, hey?
You know, it's hard to answer for all the insurance companies on that, but Mike Kreidler, the Office of the Insurance Commissioner, has ruled in the exchange that nobody can be termed unless you don't pay premiums for 90 days. So that's just kind of a general rule. For those who don't have coverage or can't afford coverage or their policy terms, he's also told insurance companies in Washington State that there should be zero copay or cost share if you go in and need treatment for COVID-19 testing. Any of that should be covered regardless of whether you're insured or not. And he asked that any person that gets a bill, a copay, a cost share, to let him know, and he'll tackle it with the insurance company.
And that's amazing, because I mean, how many do us feel that we actually have someone that's there to bat, you know, specifically for us? So we have I have one more question to ask, and this will be well, actually two more questions to ask. One for Joanne, and Anne, while I still have you, what do you, so we're all trying to still receive medical care, right? Especially with everything that's happening. What types of care are actually being offered? I know that, you know, everyone's doing everything online now. So, you know, are insurance companies adapting to the type of care that we used to receive when we were actually allowed to go to, you know, a hospital or a clinic? Or how has that adapted in our current pandemic situation that we're all dealing with right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's they have all developed very robust telemedicine packages. So if they weren't embedded in their product before, they are now. So every insurance company offers a telemarketing or virtual visit, which is nice, in lieu of going in to see or talk to your doctor face to face. They're also offering things like 90-day supplies of prescriptions, mail order prescriptions that no copay or cost shares or anything coronavirus related. So they are stepping up to help in any way they can.
Okay, and then this question for Joanne. It's tax time, obviously. What advice do you have for businesses, especially now, for, you know, filing taxes, especially since we have so much time on our hands, you know, and getting all of this paperwork together, and, you know, maybe also like possibilities for them to, you know, because I know so many people in the film community that are looking for CPAs to help, you know, to help with filing their taxes. So what advice do you have for that?
Be as organized as you can, you know, and try to do it throughout the year. Don't just wait until January when it's tax time. And I think I'm seeing that it's critical now, and people now are struggling to, if they want to apply for any of this stimulus, they have to have their ducks in a row. They have to have, you know, their tax return filed or a profit and loss statement. And I think people are really realizing now that it's important to not just look at these things once a year, but to take care of your finances all year long, so that, you know, you're ready when something like this happens.
Okay, those are my questions, but we do have questions from, you know, our viewers who are watching on Facebook Live right now. So I will get straight into that. This question is for you.
I can't hear you, Abby. Oh, sorry. I'm not hearing you. You're on mute. I'm not hearing you, Abby. You're on mute. There you
Okay,
go.
hello, sorry. So what documents will people need in order to file?
In order to file for unemployment?
Yes, yes.
So they will need their tax return. And there is a list. There is an application checklist right on the front page of the Employment Security Department website. And if you look at that, it walks you right through exactly what you need. I'm sorry, I don't have that list right in front of me. We can put the link in the sidebar of the chat here too.
Sure.
I will put that link there. One thing I did want to mention though that I neglected to mention before around applying for unemployment is you should apply even if you think you're going to get a small check, because as part of the CARES Act and the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, they are adding an additional $600 a week to unemployment. So, you know, an extra 24 or more $100 per month.
A month, yeah.
Your unemployment check. So it's there for you. That's why we have unemployment. So I encourage people to apply for it.
And then another question for you, Kate. My friends in LA are saying work is not coming back fast, although it is backlogged and queued up, and studios do not want to risk crews getting together, and it will be an OSHA issue. Studios and productions don't want to risk litigation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we have to figure out a plan that meets a public health standard, right? So that may be that we start with master a big crew, that they won't be able to be in that first wave.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on how this transpires. It is unlikely that we'll have a vaccine this summer. It is highly unlikely that we'd have a vaccine this summer. And then there's talk about antibody testing that you may have heard some about, but people who have had COVID and survived it develop antibodies. And there's all sorts of crazy talk going on around how that can be monitored. And I don't know if we're going to do that in the United States. They've done it in some other countries. It's worked very well for them so far. But it's a privacy issue here in America, and that all is being sorted right now as to whether people are willing to have an app in their phone that tells them that person doesn't have the antibody and you are standing near them. That's one of the things that is under discussion right now. Another is that going out in public, you'd have to have proof of the antibody. That's another thing that's under discussion. This feels pretty violating to Americans in general, I think, to have that level of privacy disclosure. But without it, it remains a murky crystal ball out there as to how we get back to working and doing business as normal. So there's a whole bevy of epidemiologists and scientists and public health officials trying to figure out the answer to that question, and it's hard to answer still. We don't know how or when crowds gather again, but we do know that we're likely to unroll the opening of it the same way that we rolled out the restrictions, right, in waves. At first, it was okay for people to still be out together in crowds. Then it was 250 and under. Then it was 50 and under. Now it's a stay-at-home order, and we will likely do that in reverse. Smaller productions will undoubtedly get off the ground before larger productions. And I don't know where OSHA is going to come in on it, but obviously we can't all keep transmitting COVID-19 to each other. So there's going to have to be safety protocols that we all learn to live with and abide by. And those will be determined by our respective health departments.
Okay, I know I was just talking to a friend about this earlier, and how all of this seems like a huge sci-fi movie, you know,
Yes.
and people are gonna carry around documents or paperwork that shows that they've already been tested, you know, and they're allowed to be out in public, and, you know, like special licenses and everything people would have to have in order to walk around or anything. So I know that everyone's just a little bit fearful right now, and I'm glad that, I mean, I live in one of the best states because the quick action that's been happening with everything, you know, it's been absolutely phenomenal. We do have another question for either Joanne or Kate. My husband has both a W-2 and a 1099 income. What does that mean for him when he applies for unemployment?
Joanne, do you want to-
I think what will happen is if he doesn't meet the 680 requirement and that's not in the system now, he's going to get spit out. He's going to get rejected. And so he'll want to go and apply on Sunday when it opens up for the self-employed and the gig workers, because I believe he'll be able to add that income to his other income and qualify for a bigger benefit. I was told that you want to apply for regular state unemployment first, because that will pay you more than the PUA unemployment. And so try that first. I also heard that everyone should go apply now and even if you get rejected, you want to go get in the system now, and then you can reapply on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's going to be a huge influx of people trying to apply, you know, this weekend, and you know, everyone's pretty much hurting, especially because these are very stressful times right now. So
the other piece of information I learned this morning is that the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance for the Self-Employed, that's the federal unemployment, and the federal minimum weekly amount is $235. And most likely what will happen is everyone who applies will get that federal minimum $235 a week, potentially with the $600 added on top of that whenever that starts, until unemployment has all the documents together and can verify their income. But it will be retroactive. So if somebody applies and they're entitled to more than that, for the first week or two, they may only get the federal minimum, but once their documentation is verified, they'll get whatever they're entitled to based on their income, and it'll be retroactive.
Kate, did you want to add anything to that, or?
No, but I'm glad you mentioned the retroactive piece. That's very important. So yeah, and I did put the link for the application checklist up there in the chat box, as well as the Employment Security Department has an action alert that you can sign up for. So if anything new happens there, you get a text blast or an email blast, depending on how you sign up, letting you know what the new news is.
I do know that I myself actually gotten a message through my bank for the stimulus checks, and you know, for anyone else who doesn't know, they can actually set up an alert depending on what account that they used when they when they filed their taxes electronically, what bank account information that you have on there. You can actually set up a bank alert so that it will let you know when the check has been deposited into your account.
Nice.
So I actually did that right away as soon as I found out, just in case. But I think that's all the questions that we have for you all tonight, unless there's any more questions from our viewers. Okay. Thank you, ladies, so much. I really appreciate that you were able to take the time to, you know, come and do this special TST with us all tonight. I'm pretty sure our viewers appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of you. Lisa, the chair, you know, also appreciates all of you. And I'm so grateful that I got a chance to sit with all of you and ask these really, really powerful questions, especially because they've been on so many people's minds, at least updated, you know, with what's going on. And there's so many grants that are going on right now that, you know, people should look out for. The information is always getting spread. For Culture has a grant, you know, that's specifically for artists and creatives. I know the Arts Relief organization has a grant also. So, you know, if you just look out for some of that stuff, the state is doing everything they possibly can to help everyone. And like I said, I'm in awe of all of you women, and I absolutely appreciate being able to spend this this past hour, you know, with all of you. So if that's all that we have for questions, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to our sponsors of Women in Film. You know, I also wanted to say that one great live cast that's happening right now is with the Seattle Film Summit, which I actually am happy to be a part of also. And they do a piece every Thursday at noon called Filling the Void. And it's with Ben Andrews and a number of other people. And it's probably one of the most entertaining, amazing things that I've seen. And it actually helps. It's what I listen to during my lunchtime when I'm working, just to find out, you know, what's going on in the community right now, especially when it comes to filming and different creative ways and projects that people are doing right now just to stay occupied, just like Kate said. I know that Lisa had some final words, so I will pass it over to Lisa.
Abby, thank you, Joanne, Kate, Anne, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and all the questions that you brought in. We'll be moving forward with our TST lives, and I want to thank our board for, especially Tracy Schreier, for producing behind the scenes. Our membership chair, Ash Navone, is our vice president right now. She's amazing, and the rest of our committee for doing all the work behind the scenes is really awesome, and it's a growth step for us. And Ben, I will see you on Thursday in the void, so I won't be wearing pants like right now. No pants. And also, if you know, I just want to shout out again that our local 488 has got a well, first you have to take care of yourself. Put the oxygen mask on first before you help others, and take care of yourself. But if you want to have the energy to be a part of the PP production drive that 488 is a part of, you can find more information on our partners and events page there. Also, all the King County links are there, as well as you can get in touch with either Joanne or our CPA, our treasurer on the board, and Ann Miller Insurance Services links are all available on our website. That's what I got.
I did want to ask, we had one more question from the audience. I wanted to ask Anne specifically, and I think this is a pretty important question. If I received a check this month for work done last month and nothing more coming in for the foreseeable future, do I qualify for Apple Care?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So happy to help if they need it.
So we're gonna make sure that we have the links of all of this in the Facebook Live. They'll also be on the Women in Film Facebook group, and please stay tuned to the Women in Film Facebook group for more TSTs that we'll be doing next month.
Yay.
Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you again next month.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
We are not live anymore.